and we switch every month between those. And now the tech room headed by Forrest has been doing this month. Last month was Riverside by Thomas, and next month the RSSC group will run the meeting, and then we just repeat.
Jim, this is Buzz. Can you hear me? My mic has been giving me problems.
Yeah, we hear you.
Thank you.
And yeah, these clubs are all independent, really. I mean, Riverside Robotics Society, the RRS is essentially a sibling club to the RSSC, um, but and then Tech Room was totally independent as far as or maybe came off of. Did it come off of Riverside? I
Yeah,
don't know the full history.
yes, it's sort of an offshoot. We came to a point where there was an opportunity to actually start another club, and so took the opportunity, and it's sort of been an interesting ride ever since. So
Right, and you're in San Bernardino area. Riverside is in Riverside, and then RSSC is Long Beach and LA vicinity, Orange County, etc.
exactly, and expand the footprint of robotics basically all around.
So we've got the whole Southern California covered pretty much, except the north, north southern. Well, not yeah. I meant the like Santa Barbara or up that way. We don't have anybody.
Well, not yet,
Not
but
yet.
um, we do have the homebrew club, though. I
Yeah,
see
that they're further north. They're the Northern California, and
is
Chris is here tonight. He's just posted in the chat. Chris Meyer.
Yep.
oh, okay, that's cool. Oh, good. Oh, yes, okay, yes, is Mount View. Okay. Now, I just got a nosy. Well, I'll get to that a little bit later on. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but basically, I just wanted to sort of say the introduction since we see all the clubs are sort of here. Just want to say welcome. Um, Tonight, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It's more a flavoring of sort of a sprinkling of the way I would run my club somewhat. So if it works, fine. If it doesn't, well, sorry, I'll have to try again. But anyhow, I did want to recognize that we do have an author in the house, and I wanted to give her a couple minutes to sort of tell you about her book because she's a member of our club. That's why I'm doing the shameless promotion here. Um, so you got a couple of minutes, Catherine. You
Uh, Thank you. Yes. So my name is Catherine Oral, and we just did a book launch this morning. I'm one of the 45 authors in the book. It's all about showing up. Power is in the asking. It's available today on Amazon. The ebook is available today on Amazon for $1.99, and the soft cover is available for $24.95. So, yeah,
What's the name of the book again?
it's all about asking. The power is in the showing up. Sorry, reverse that. It's all about showing up. The power is in the asking.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
and if you could, Catherine, just post a link up to where they can take a look at that later on in the chat.
Okay.
And thank you. Now, pretty much, we do sort of like robots in the news at this time and stuff like that, but we'll sort of save that. And I'll move off to the next point, which is Brian here. Now, what I was going to do was I was going to do a little housekeeping rule so I can get everybody's input at this point, which is basically why I sort of tried this setup, because I want everybody's input. I don't know everyone. I wanted to get a better feel for everyone. So With that, I want to give everybody an opportunity, and Brian will give us a warning shot. To give everybody a proper time, we have to give a time limit. So we've got about 27 people, and we've got a short time, so about 5 to 7 minutes maybe. And at the 5-minute round, we can have a sound effect demonstration. Oh, well, Brian, you're muted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Brian.
There we are.
All right. So there's the pre-warning.
Nice.
And then when we hit the 7-minute warning,
When you're really gonged, it sounds like this.
you know, a little humor there.
Those are pretty sounds.
Oh, yes.
We need to implement that.
We can record them. Yeah, have little digital files, I suppose.
So with that, your audio is working and everything. Yep. Okay.
Just in the nick of time, boy. I had some silly problems, but I got them.
All righty. Well, Brian will be moving on into the next section, which is based off of money and robots, basically. So.
Okay, am I ready to go?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Well, first of all, I got my Hawaiian shirt on. Tip of the hat to Alan here. And let's see. Can people hear me well?
Yes,
Usually
sir.
my
We can hear you.
mic works pretty good, assuming I'm not unmuted. All right, you can hear me. That's good. A little bit of housekeeping there. Going to share a document, and I suppose what I'll do, if I can figure out how fast enough, is to share the doc with everyone just to make sure I do. Got to find it. Where is it?
Okay, I just want to appreciate Walter's mustache. Now it's just a eye. There you go. Keep that one on, Walter. It suits you.
Mario.
Tell you what, I'm going to switch
Super Nintendo.
and send the file afterwards, but hopefully I can share my screen and everyone can follow along. Let's see. Does anyone know whether it shares what's in focus or does it just share a screen?
You have different options. One of them, the first option you get is to share the entire screen, or it gives you an option of like different applications that you have running, and you can select the one you want to share.
Okay, well, I'm going to go for share screen and see if I can get anything to happen.
Yeah, the easiest is to share whole screen.
Hey, there we go. Share.
Well, there we go.
What do you see? Do you see anything?
Yeah, we see just the one application though, but it's fine. We can see
Good.
this.
No, it's just a text file is all I'm talking about here.
Yep.
Just so I can write. Can you see my cursor? If I'm waving my cursor around, do you see anything?
Yes, we do.
Good, good. Okay, so I guess the last piece of housekeeping is, see, this thing seems a little thin to me. Well, you're going to have to guess, I guess, at some of the first letters here. Sorry about that. I don't know what's doing that. Anyway, basically, I like it interactive. Stop me and ask questions. It's more important, I think, to for you to voice your questions and see if we can get to answers than it is to finish. We'll see how we do. How about that? And basically, this is a glance at a couple of perspectives, the stock market, and do you want to get involved? And if you did, how would you think about it? And a little bit of market timing and so on and so forth. But it's kind of a survey of the business and equity side, I suppose, of robotics. And to start, I just used something and tip of the hat to Forrest. I got this thing from him. It's BOTZ, B-O-T-Z. You can see that right here. It is an ETF. And they just manage, they hold several different stocks in it. And the most important part of the stocks that they hold are these. These are the top 10 holdings. And if you stare at this a little while, you'll kind of see kind of the flavoring here. Most of them are big, very international, um, traded stocks, etc. And then just to get a glance of the health of this thing, I just went and looked at a couple of PEs. NVIDIA is the second top holding. Forward PE, if you know what that is, stop me if you don't and want to know, of 45, which is, you know, a little rich, maybe not too rich for a tech stock. Fanuc, big industrial one, 60. Intuitive Surgical, which has been an amazing company. I've been watching it kind of from a distance for years. 58. Okay.
Price to earnings ratio, right? I mean, you might want
Correct.
to review it for those of us.
Yes.
The
Yes.
higher the number is a little bit better because it means your price is, well, I don't know if better is the right
Yeah,
word.
better. There's a,
Why don't you
you know, compared to what better? Notice I said forward because you can have the trailing PE, and the way to think of it a little bit down in the details is if the trailing PE is some number and earnings are going up, then that PE will be reduced. It'll kind of come in sync more with the market. And some background information is, if you take a look at the entire market, a lot of times the entire market, S&P 500, for example, is thought to be a little rich if it's 22, for example. And if everything is really horrible, you know, is correction and all this, it might get down to 18 something, let's say. So you can see you're sizably above 22, but these are, you know, this is a partially the market itself, where we are in, let's say, the larger market cycle, and the nature of the company and the emotions surrounding the company, tech being quite a bit in favor, even if it isn't all robotics. I will let you pull up a one-year chart for yourself if you want to. You can go to finance.yahoo.com or something and just type in bots, B-O-T-Z. Look at a one-year chart. And it looks like a lot of charts for a lot of individual stocks too, which is COVID started, everything crashed down, and it hit a bottom in about March of 2020, and it got down to 1477, and it's 35 something today. And so the chart is a sweet looking chart, particularly if you bought around 1477, because it's, you know, lower left, upper right, and there's a lot of them out there. Any chart that's good nowadays kind of looks like that.
I actually own bots for like 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Are you happy with how you've done with it?
There were some scary moments, but it's picked up.
But this is get used to this list. This is I'll get back to who's there. I tried to think of it in terms of subsectors because you just, you know, throw robotics at the wall. It's a very big subject or sector. And so to try to understand it, and again, this is my version, as I say here, AI, which I consider part of another sector. You've seen ads on TV about this C3.ai. I do not know precisely what they do or anything about the company, but I'm going to look at them, you know, and see. They claim to be about AI anyway, and they're putting that up front and center, but they're talking about, you know, global companies and humongous AI operations, for example. That's what they seem to be selling. You can say voice to text, text to voice. Here are a couple of examples. Electric vehicles and autonomous driving. Fisker here is local. Nikola has been an interesting story. I saw a chart recently. It looked terrible. I bought it. I thought it was coming up, and then it had a terrible bit of news, and it's been a bottom fisher ever since. There may be some sort of equity rescue coming, but for a while, Nikola, I think, was thought to be maybe the truck equivalent answer to Tesla. It's not, even though you go Nikola and Tesla. How cool is that?
Yeah, the 18-wheeler, electric 18-wheeler.
Yeah, yeah, and Tesla is working on its own, from what I recall. There also is one out of the San Diego area. I'm not sure it isn't Nikola itself. I don't think so. Industrial
Nick,
manufacturing. What's
Yeah,
that?
oh, sorry. Yeah, Nicola, they did a fake video where they actually pushed the truck so that it could roll.
That's the worst of the worst. They got caught faking it. I mean,
Yeah.
never mind the
Anyway,
donkey that's pulling it. Yeah, that's terrible.
yeah.
I did not know that one. That's great. Okay. Yes. Well, and they still have a company and they still have a stock. So good for them. The industrial
Cool.
manufacturing, I just refer you to the above. I mean, manufacturing, robotic arms. It goes in phases, I suppose, where there's an ad and they're thought to be sexy, more sexy or less. Logistics and warehouse is an active area. Amazon, of course, bought one of the superstars in that area, and now they are all over Amazon warehouses. I might mention that later. The industrial services is where the bots are used for things. You've seen the bomb robots, the military. I'm going to put intuitive surgical in there. I'm even going to throw iRobot in there because it's a specific bot for a specific purpose. It gives you the service of cleaning your house. There's drones is one. I put a separate department here for these enormous companies that do robotics, yes, but it's not a meaningful part of the revenue. You cannot buy the robotics division, for example. If you buy Rockwell Automation, or if you buy Northrop, you get a lot of things in there. And who knows, I suppose you could determine what percentage the robotics revenue is, but it's, as an investment, it's that and no more. This area, as I say below, some subsectors have had a difficult history, if you can see my cursor down there. Enki, just ask Thomas. The Jibo robot, for example. Cosmo and Vector, very cool, thought to be superstars. Toys R Us closed, and now look. Asimo is from Honda, etc. You can see the rest of the flavors here, probably innumerable toy robots, some better than others. I think Vex knows how to make money. They sure know how to price aggressively. Lego is famous in there. The point is that, and here's our robotics parts, but to kind of organize it mentally and find out what's the business model in any of these companies, and do you want to buy one thing or do you want to diversify all over the place? I hope that's useful just as a tool of thinking about the area. And again, some of these subsectors, particularly the social and companion robots, where that's the thing the company does, let me know. We haven't figured out a company with the magical formula yet that can do just that. Wouldn't it be great if we could start something like that? But it's a dicey area, I think, for all of the typical reasons of development and then of software developing, sourcing hardware, getting it marketed, keeping it profitable, et cetera, et cetera. Tough business. I thought the music business was tough. Well, this is too.
Yes.
The more I listen to the TV, the more smart people are saying the market seems high, overbought, and a bubble. And if you look at the overall chart, of course, it is way up from the bottom. I know of only one investor that seemed to have timed the market pretty excellently. He said to me, well, I was watching TV about December 2019 to January 2020, and I heard that the market was the highest it's ever been. So I thought it was a good time to sell some. So he sold some, and COVID came and the market tanked. And he thought, well, it's a good time to buy a little in March. Well, that's successful market timing. It doesn't always work. It's a dangerous game, but he did it that time. And even better, he's a doctor, who are notoriously lousy investors. So I would say, under the heading of, the rising ocean lifts all boats, I think a lot of boats are high right now, and one would need to exercise a lot of care because this market could easily go down. You don't need to jump in with everything you've got, even if you get excited and want to right now. Here's just for example, there's innumerable websites with advice you can go to. Investor Place is one of them. Forward PE here of iRobot is right in there, 21. They have a kind of a different model. I'd look at it real close before I bought in with any significant amount. Intuitive Surgical just forked over 100 million venture fund for minimally invasive care. So they're going to be broadening their offerings and buying up other little companies in that space. Very smart, very cool. If you want a dividend, well, there you go. ABB pays a dividend. Teradyne made an acquisition, a lower PE than some of the ones you saw above. So sometimes a lower PE is good and sometimes it's bad, and it kind of depends on all the other things you do or study surrounding that. That's quite an art form there. Here's another one. Stocks to benefit from the Biden presidency. So that there's that angle. There's lots of being written, and there is some rotation in and out. I did not read this. I don't know the logic behind all of it. The one observation is you're starting to see some usual suspects here. You see them over and over again, and there's probably something to them. The only risk is they're overbought because everybody's already in them. So you know, this would be one of those times to watch out for that risk, I would say. Now here's the argument for being invested at least partially. Look at this number, 17, a large number. The 128 billion in what they thought was the robotics sector. This is the total sector revenue. Spending on robotics was up 17% from 2019. Well, it might be up more in 2021. It is a growing sector. So that is something to watch. Let's see. I just did some quick commentary. I glanced at these. I said, I like this one. Intuitive Surgical marches on. It's down recently. The reason stated that I saw was, of course, a lot of the procedures that are done with Intuitive Surgical are elective. COVID-19 comes along, hospitals are full doing something else, and elective procedures are delayed or canceled. But don't worry, they'll be back. They may be really back with a vengeance. So would you buy the dip? Well, I'd be tempted. I'll take a look at that. They're expensive. They're what, $600 or $700 a share? But over years, they've just been awesome. Excuse me, awesome as a company, awesome as a stock. If you've ever been in a doctor's suite and looked at the machine, it's a pretty awesome machine as strictly a robotics machine. Oh, someone drew on my thing. That's cool. Any questions so far?
You know, I heard that things like Tesla is looking into LiDAR technology. So if they go with a particular LiDAR company, then you buy that particular company. And
absolutely, yeah, contributing technologies.
Yeah,
please
exactly.
email all of us when that's found out.
Yeah, which one was that, Walter?
I'll let you. Well, I'll buy first, and then I'll let you know.
But of course.
I'm curious, am I able to get this information? I find it great market research.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to email to you.
Okay, do you have my email? It's info.
No, I'm sorry. No, I was going to just send email's wrong word. Send it to everybody on the chat.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
It's just going to be a little text file. But I hope it helps you think about it, you know, and as a jumping off place, if you're interested in researching and so forth.
Did you look at Universal Robots?
I did not, but I'll take a note.
They were bought out by Teradyne, so I think probably now it's just you can only invest in it through Teradyne.
Can you speak up a little louder there? You're not coming through loudly for me.
Sorry. They were bought out by Teradyne,
Yeah.
so you have to invest in them through Teradyne, but they build industrial collaborative robots.
Ah. I remember something about the company Paradigm, and maybe that's it, but I didn't catch it. Okay.
Teradyne would
Big
look
moves in
worth looking at. The chart is just delightfully exponentially increasing.
Teradyne is okay, and it's got that forward PE. You know, some of these companies, the tech companies, have no revenue at all, and therefore their PE is kind of infinity.
You can't say that about
money in them,
Teradyne.
but you got to get out of them, you know.
Is that it?
Teradyne.
But I wasn't too happy. Some of these robotics companies, big robotics companies, seem to have had a better year in 2017 and 18, and then a little bit of an off year. They're down some. The German one, boring chart. There we go. KUKA, big German company. I looked at the chart and I said, why would I buy that? I didn't get to look at the Coney chart today, but it is, thank you, Phil, the same company as the one that makes the shock absorbers.
Oh, really?
This is on the negative column. To give you a little pause. To the degree that the new administration has priorities, these seem to be the highest priorities, and hopefully they'll get around to facilitating technology and so forth, even if they're byproducts of what they're doing here in this list. It depends on, you know, what they do, regulations in financial markets, regulations in labor, regulations in environment, materials, etc. We shall see.
Excuse me, Brian.
Yeah.
Quick question. Did you happen to take a look at night vision by any chance? Because they've been sort of advertising on all over the internet, at least on the YouTube spots and everything, about saying, oh, invest 500 now. And they have their spot, they're doing some internet promotion. I wonder.
This isn't the local company here in Loma Linda, is it?
I don't think so. They gained fame by running over that one poor old lady. So
I think you're getting custom ads. I'm getting custom ads for some monoscope where it's better than a telescope and it's only $47 or something like that.
Okay.
Are you referring to Night Scope?
Yeah, I think so.
Night scope, that's what it is.
Is that the same one?
Pretty much.
It's a monoscope, a single, like half a set of binoculars. It's supposed to be all that.
Isn't Night Scope the security robot? They were famous for falling in the fountain a few years ago.
They were great too.
That's
Yeah.
Nightscope.
What company are they from? Are they still a company?
Yes, they still are. So.
Yep.
Night Scope, yeah.
That's, you know, KNIGHT.
That's right.
Security robot.
That is such a memorable video. I saw it once and it's like a meme.
Is it the one that fell in the water?
Yeah.
One? Someone commented after 2 days, the security robot committed suicide. It was so bored. I laughed so hard.
This is some specifics, just a little vignettes and so forth. Boston Dynamics, I'm not going to play you or even try to find the famous holiday dance video. We've all seen it, have we not? Raise your hand if you haven't. The Boston Dynamics dance video. Awesome. I do want their algorithms.
Oh, yeah.
That do those balances. I mean, once they find something useful to do with those robots, it's going to be all over. And it's too bad they are now owned, what, 80% by Hyundai and 20% by SoftBank. There's wrongness there somehow. But anyway, the Amazon swarms I mentioned before, those kind of low slung, they look like rolling toasters, and then they have the shelves above them. I do forget the name of the company, but Amazon did the right thing. They just bought the whole company.
It was Kiva Robotics.
Yeah. K-I-V-O or A?
KIVA.
That's right.
Kiva, yeah. They've been in the news many years now, or several years.
Yeah. So, and then we recently, to close then, we recently went to Sam's Club. And we saw rolling towards us what looked like a floor cleaner that was one of those ride-along kinds, except nobody was on top of it. It was autonomous. And another customer and I were looking at it. And I'm going to snaggle myself when it comes to sharing here. I don't know. Should I unshare this thing? What can I do?
Yeah, Linda and I saw one of those at Walmart. It's a self-driving, autonomous robot cleaner, probably about 3.5 to 4 feet tall. It rolls around the aisles. I didn't know whether it was pre-programmed or to follow various aisles, but it definitely had sensors in order to stop if a person walked in front of it. But kind of a clever device, and I believe it was built in San Diego. There's a company down there that makes those cleaning robots.
Well, that's one and the same. And in the interest of time, maybe I can get a picture to show up, but so far I think I'm trapped in this particular screen share. Here's the link down here. Yeah, the San Diego company is called Brain Corp, and as near as I can tell from their video, this video, as a matter of fact, Brain Corp seems to, they didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, or literally, and reinvent the cleaning part of it, but they found ways to add their brains to existing bots. What we saw had ice prominently on the side. And I thought, really? You're going to throw somebody out? What's up there? But I guess that's a brand of a cleaning robot. And also Tenant, a brand, if you've been around office buildings, they have all kinds of cleaning equipment. And Brain Corp, the Tenant bot looks cleaner, floor scrubber they're called, looks very similar to the ice. And there was a third one in there. So they seem to be putting their sensors and computing power, their autonomous capability into existing floor scrubbers. And that's what I have a picture of. It's ice, but it's the same one that when you look at the one that says ice on its side in this video, this is a nice video. It's their Brain Corp's promotional video for the bots. So that should be growing. You know, you're saying Walmart does that too. Probably one employee went from one to the other, and if Walmart had it, then Sam's Club would have it. Well, Costco will have it next. The interesting part of the story was the robot. I tested it a little bit. I stood in front of it, tried to figure out what the algorithms would do, and it would, back up or do this or that, try to dodge people. Then it decided it wanted to park, and it parked in a way that blocked my wife and her cart in where she was. And so she had to back out of a 50-foot aisle, and her face was kind of fun to watch, as she did that. And then it sat there a while. I thought, why did it do that? Or did it think she could pass? Suddenly a guy showed up and drove it away. And then after a while, he was doing the floors manually. In other words, he was driving the thing. So I guess it was just finding something to do until he got there or something. It did seem to have a map or an idea of where it was going, and it did a good percentage of Sam's Club before it went to sleep.
Yeah, I think there's human controls on it so that when they want to remove it and move it into their storage area, you can have a human driver kind of move it along that way.
He was only going about 4 or 5 times faster than the robot was going. He was tearing around the corners.
Really?
Yeah. So that's like, looky, the revolution is here kind of moment. I didn't know they had those that way. So that's my presentation. Any questions as I close?
Brian, have you thought about watching the Avatar robot market as is relevant with the Avatar X Prize?
No, but I'd welcome a chance. I would welcome that as a subsector, to tell you the truth. That will be much bigger.
I mean, that would be an opportunity to get in as soon as possible if you're talking about investing.
Any names that you already know?
Well, in the Avatar X Prize, there's 77 teams. My company that I'm representing is Workfar, which makes an Avatar robot, but it's not in the competition. You could just look it up online, Avatar X Prize, and it'll have a list of all 77 teams. We're not in the competition, but depending on how our patent goes, it doesn't matter who wins because we'll still win, royalty wise.
Hey, great luck. I wish you locking in the IP. That's the key.
Definitely.
Yeah, Avatar robots definitely, if they don't live as a subsegment, they definitely should in this world here. Absolutely.
Definitely. So that's, knowledge that you could get into something, before everybody else does, I suppose.
If it's one of two ways, I suppose. If the company or companies are publicly traded stocks and I can buy shares, otherwise I have to go the private equity route and get in one of those funding rounds via some vehicle,
Yeah, I would think that they're all private equity right now. I can't think any of them off the team list are public right now.
Brian, just out of curiosity, are you still trading futures?
Never traded futures, traded options.
Okay, I thought we had a conversation about a year or two ago. I thought it was futures you were trading.
Yeah, no, I only options.
That's good.
The word I got from some people smarter than I said, futures, never touch them, And of course, farmers and others touch them all the time, but I think you would need really good knowledge. In other words, if you're a cattleman and you trade cattle futures, okay, that makes sense, and to some degree you're hedging and protecting yourself.
Well, let me just share a thought about all of this. After being off and on in the markets for over 53 years, if you know what you're doing in whatever arena, whether it be futures, mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, options, whatever it is that you trade, as long as you know what you're doing and you manage risk appropriately, you'll probably be okay and you'll do very well. It doesn't matter whether you're trading equities, stock equities, all of that kind of stuff. If you don't know what you're doing and you have no clue about it, you might as well go to the casino and just have some fun at the machines or the tables.
I'll go with that. Yeah, what he said. I mean, clearly people make money in futures and other people lose money in futures. Yeah, it's not hard to do. I think when I was a kid, almost a 20-year-old adult, I bought, I believe it might have been considered a future, an option on oil. And I consulted with my grandfather, and we decided crude oil was going to go down, for example. The broker we were talking to said, oh, no, what you need to do is go up. Well, we went with what he basically made us do, and we lost the money. So
that's what brokers are for, to help you go broke.
Make you go broker. Well, he lived right up to that, that's for sure.
Wow, that's too bad.
So I never did that again. They can have the oil market.
Yeah, we had a dear friend many years ago from India, and he had a broker. He was trading leaps on stocks. He was up to over $1 million, and then his broker, instead of having him sell and take some profits along the way, even with trailing stops, making it easier to capture profits, he wrote it all the way down because he listened to his broker. So, you got to be careful of these so-called professionals.
And how many times has that been done?
So many, so many.
Well, that's the good thing about computerized trading platforms. You don't have that clown on the other end of the phone telling you this or that unless you want him.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's my presentation. Hope it helps, and I'll work on getting this thing chatted to you as we go forward. So So should I hit my own bell? What do you think? Where's my? There we go.
I
Thank
was
you,
just
Brian.
gonna say, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, Brian, you can click on the chat window under the more three dotted button, or I'm sorry, under the where it says file, and then you can drop a file into there.
Yeah.
I think that's the, I haven't really seen this done before, but I'm sure it works. Or
Let's see. I have to unshare this thing, or did the share quit?
now you have to,
Yes, you have to unshare. Yes, there you go.
there you go.
Oh, there it is. I want to share nothing.
Well, did you have a picture of that machine by any chance that you were talking about?
Yeah, several. I just need to figure out how to get them over here. Let's see. Let me
Yeah, I
see-
just
oh,
wanted to
oh,
reference.
here we go. Can I do this? Let me share this. I don't know what this is going to do. Hold on. Did that bring that up?
No.
No?
Currently, you're not sharing the screen. You're sharing just one application, which is your File Explorer. So all we see-
Yeah, okay. I need to go the other way, don't I?
I would share the whole screen if you.
Why can I did something. I have all kinds of stuff up here that is not relevant. There we go. Share screen. Share desktop one. You get to see all my garbage. Okay. All right. How about now?
There we go.
Yeah.
There it is.
Okay, so this says Brain. There's their Brain logo. This, I think, is their computer. There's the back of it. You can see it's kind of an industrial standard floor scrubber. That's what it's called. It must have at least 2 tanks. It spreads the water on the floor and it sops the water up, and it's dry as the thing motors on. There's where it says ice, and it's one of the 3. So that's basically what I have of that. I don't know if I can share.
Hey, Brian, could you bring up a picture of the front again? I am not seeing any sensors.
Yeah, there's a camera right there. And
Right,
it
but not
seemed
the
to have
sides or the back.
360 degrees handled. You got near it over here and it stopped for you.
Huh.
Those at the bottom, the little holes, those might be ultrasounds. And then there's another little 2 things on the top.
I think it was a mini censored rig by how it behaved. It was pretty cool. And it dinged and had its little light and, you know, let the ladies pass with their carts and all that. Yeah.
And notice it has a steering wheel when all else fails.
Well, yeah, then the guy that retracts these tapes, and the guy jumped on and drove it away.
Yep.
And the video of that company, Brain, in San Diego shows various tablets. It looks like they're programming routes and getting status of where it is and what it's seeing, so on and so forth. I wish I could share. Here's what I want.
Well,
anyway, there's that. This, if you can see that, this is their picture of the bots holdings back where I started. Can you see that?
Yes.
So those are the symbols. This is stolen straight off of finance.yahoo.com. Again, you go, I think there's even a tab, and it's called holdings, and you don't see this, but then you scroll down a little bit on the holdings tab within the bots pages, and that's where you see what it's made out of. And
So
there
it's
are
like-
others. There probably are other ETFs, but I think this is one of the kind of the grand old ones.
Oh, it's just called bots.
Yep. BOTZ.
BOTZ.
And it is not a stock. It is a exchange traded fund, ETF.
ETF, which is like trades like a stock. I have some of those.
Yeah, there. That was a great invention. I remember when they first came on the scene.
Yeah, it's a little, I have mutual funds too, and it seems like it's a little better than the whole mutual fund. Wait until 4 p.m. or the next, you can't trade it right away. You have to wait.
Yeah, if that's all you've got, it's way better than nothing, but it is a little bit antiquated.
Yeah, I have a lot of mutual funds. It's just easy and convenient.
It's this one. Where'd it go? There's that quote for "It's no surprise." Can you see this part of the desktop where I am now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Then, in theory, you could see.
Only the Zoom.
We're only seeing Zoom.
The Zoom in the web browser.
Huh. Well, that's useless. Let's see. You can't see this video, huh?
No.
Oh well. Okay.
You can drag it and drag it to the other screen.
See if that works. Come on, let me drag you. I still don't know every nook and cranny of the Ubuntu desktop yet. Oh, wait a minute. I can do this. There we go. Now it's draggable. Can you see it now?
Now we see it.
Okay. So it's only giving me half of it is the problem.
There you go.
Get things going again. Come on. There we go. All right.
That's good.
Can you get audio too?
No, can you fix the audio?
It's
I forget the trick for. It's nice music is all it is. It's background, somebody's synth stuff.
And just music.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool in person. Yeah, I was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an industrial robot intermixed with people in a completely retail environment. So it has to really know its stuff because the safety requirements are quite high.
Yeah. So as you're watching this, here's something that I can share with you about something similar happening in Disney Imagineering. I think they've been tinkering with automated droids and stuff in the parks. And I think I heard they've run into the same things that this one will. You're seeing an example with one robot in a clear aisle with one person. And, above all else, don't run over people, right? This is the motto. Whatever you do, don't hit anyone. So I don't know if anyone solved for what you do when there are too many people around, like when you can't move.
That's the problem they're having with it. They were trying to have droids running all over Galaxy's Edge. Unfortunately, the droid that they designed it gets in a crowd of too many people, it just freaks out, it just stops. It can't move around, can't do anything. I don't think they have approached the problem in the right format. And it's just a small group that's developing that one prototype. So I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, this is an ongoing research. I mean, Samsung they're as well. They're trying to figure out how to deal with a lot of people in a retail store, for instance, and have a robot navigate. It's not been solved completely.
Well, what Disney's also doing, they're no longer doing things in-house. They're actually going out to the universities and getting things, the technology. For example, the technology for the walking dinosaur that they had there is based on the MIT's graduate studies of a small walking dinosaur they actually made. And then also the technology for their talking Mickey Mouse heads from someone that did it. At MIT did a dissertation on making a talking head thinking character you could carry on a structured conversation with. They didn't come up with them themselves. They've been farming out a lot of stuff and doing some of the technology from that because they no longer have the people there in-house that can do it because all those people either retired or they died.
Kind of sad.
It is. And they're not really willing to, in my opinion, not really willing to look up the outside. I've never had approached them on this stuff, but again, sort of sad to see it go that way because before in this heyday they were doing everything in house.
Yeah, they did a lot. I mean, back in the 90s at Walt Disney World, I remember when my brother worked for Disney anyway. They had so much going on in research, and they're spending a huge amount of money, virtual reality back then, and everything, and animatronics. But yeah, things change.
Well, they had a whole R&D department and stuff. They still have some of that, but again, they dialed it way back to the point where they're not doing so much in house. And then what they have done, they discovered people out there, hey, in educational and research centers across the country, doing stuff that they could take advantage of.
Well, that's been the Disney model for throughout history. I mean, all the stories almost all of them were public domain, and
Well, again, Disney had the capability and the idea. If he saw somebody he liked, he would make him an offer they can't refuse. Unfortunately, he's no longer around to do that sort of thing. I mean, I've talked to people that have worked for them that basically Disney made them a deal they couldn't refuse, and they had unbreakable contracts. And one of my friends was Herb Ryman, one of the guys that actually drew the plans to Disneyland with Walt with that one weekend. Then toward the end of his career, they were trying to get rid of him, but they couldn't. His contract was unbreakable because it was drawn out by Disney. I mean, some of the technology I think they're doing in the newer animatronic figures there in Galaxy's Edge, they have got up from other resources and not really doing much in-house. One of the things I thought they did is they actually finally got 3D modeling programs or 3D animation programs to be able to link to their characters directly. So if you can animate it on the screen, you could generate all the code, the interfaces, and everything to make the figure do exactly what's being animated on the screen that someone animated in 3D.
The other thing with a lot of this stuff for multi-target is a lot of it has been bought up by the military and classified. In the 1970s, they had target tracking systems running on computers that could track up to 360 targets. And I don't know how much of that has remained classified over the years, but
probably quite a bit of it.
Isn't that what they're doing with Avatar robots?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Isn't that what they're doing with Avatar robots?
Not to that degree, I don't think.
That stuff runs on, at the time they ran on IBM 360s. There were, and Univac 3020s, and there were 3 of them. Well, actually, there were 4 of them on the ship, and 3 of them ran the algorithms, and one was like an umpire, manager and controller.
Well, it's like some of the ride control systems at Disneyland, for example, for the Matterhorn. There's 2 computers that are running exactly the same program at the same time, and the third one is decides which one to switch to and go to because they hadn't errored yet. Yeah. And that's all PLC logic. I mean, when I first worked at Disneyland, their PLCs were Allen Bradley PS1, 2 systems that had core memory in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Playing Arduino now.
Anyhow, since we're running short on time, I will just jump into a show and tell session rather than going with what I have because it'd take too long to get into it. So if you don't mind, I know Brittany had something to show and Jim and Thomas, right?
I've got something I could show if I can jump in here at some point.
All right.
If you don't have enough time, I can wait till next meeting. No problem.
Let's see Brittany for sure, because she wanted to get in last time and we didn't have time for her.
Well, then let Thomas go then. I can always do it another time.
Not Thomas, Brittany. Brittany.
Yeah, where you at, Brittany?
Go for it.
Okay. So I kind of wanted to do a small plug for the stocks because it was talked about before. I put into the group about this stock called I need to share my screen. That one, yeah. Called Artificial Intelligence Technology Solutions. They're the ones that are building the robots for Amazon warehouses. I saw it when it was like less than a penny, but I don't like it because I don't want. It's like just because there's technology doesn't mean it's for something good. So I don't know. I don't like it, but it's okay. So it's they have different robots. It's like security robots, and they put them in like parking lots and train stations, and it owns a company, Robotic Assistance Devices. which has this website. It saves money because they do $4 an hour for robots. And with the coronavirus, people don't want to have employees touch everything. And then if they do, everyone has to be notified, and it's a big problem. And so this is like cheaper. Then they have this one called like Romeo or something, and it's their newest one, and it goes everywhere. Future security guarding. Then there's this other one called Creative Realities, where they do it's like a telepresence robot, and it checks your temperature and everything. Yeah, and tells you stuff and checks you in when you're at work. Yeah. So my project is the Wayback Machine. It's an internet archive, and it just takes snapshots of websites. And what happens is you can enter, like, I have my account, but say you don't have an account, you only get to put in like one website at a time. Like, I don't know. I like how stuff works. And then it'll take, you know, I don't want to save the, it only does one page at a time, you know. On my account, you can like at least save the outlinks, which are any links on the page. So you click save outlinks, and it'll save all the links on that page. It's great for YouTube, but that's not enough. So I needed something because I go on this search engine called Ecosia, and because no one uses it, only 1% of all searches are through there. The Internet Archive doesn't really have that many of them. So I'm like, I messaged them, and they said you could do a batch archive. And so I tried it. And so I can do like multiple, I have 3 options on this, and you have to go through that, but because it's an app, you know, and you can check if the URLs are available. You can check if they're archived in the Internet Archive, or you can archive them. And I didn't realize this, but you can only archive 100,000 URLs at one time, but it's 100,000 times 100 because of the outlinks. When you go to click, you save the outlinks. Like before they had it where it's 150, but I think I crashed their site or something because they changed it. Because it was a lot. I have like millions, and so I have to do this like every day. But you can check. I check them after I do this so that I don't duplicate my work. But it's like I created like URL lists. And you have to convert it to a Google Sheet, and then I like click share, and then I make sure that they can edit it, and then it's slow because you know, I'm on the Zoom, but it's okay. It's usually faster. faster. But you get the list of URLs. I think with the batch process, when you do this one, I think that's kind of unlimited, but you can only do one at a time. All these you could only do one sheet at a time, but I think this one is a little bit easier, and you go like that and check, and it gives you a tracker. And when I do the this one, sometimes it takes like 8 to 10 hours, but I can go to sleep and it does all of the processing for me of archiving the URLs, and then I wake up and it's done. So it's pretty cool how it's like all automated. I know it's like there's robots where they're in reality, but this is more like a digital robot because they have web crawlers. So that's my presentation. Yep. Any questions or anything? I don't
So
know.
you're backing up your stuff in an automated fashion. Is that what you're saying?
I can't hear you.
Are you backing up your stuff in an automated fashion?
Wait, one more time. Okay, go ahead.
So you're backing everything up. What are you backing up exactly?
Wow, I'm backing up URLs.
Say that again.
I'm backing up URLs into the Internet Archive snapshots.
Is this your
Of
stuff or
websites
somebody
I-
else's stuff?
Anything on the internet, because I go onto websites like I search in Nicosia, and then I try clicking on things and they're not available anymore. And if they're not on the Internet Archive, it's gone forever. And that's an issue. That's why I do this. So
So
it's there.
is
for
this a
everyone
volunteer?
forever?
Is this a volunteer? So you're kind of volunteering to help back up, I mean, to preserve the internet. Is that your own sort of donating your time to doing that?
Yeah, it's volunteering, but it helps me out. So I kind of, it's like a necessity project. It's not really a volunteer project.
Oh, because you're backing up things that might go away or
Yeah, something that I actually need later on. So if the website doesn't have it, then I can go there and it's there. But if I don't do this, then it won't be there.
well, but what are these? The source of these sites are. What makes you think they're going away, or is it just a
Because I do go to these sites and they do go away, and then
Ah,
I try to find it. Yeah,
so
it
these
happens
are
very quickly.
these
They
are
say the
things.
internet. I think the average of a URL changing is every 42 minutes. So the Internet Archive lets you take a snapshot every 10 minutes, but they did a cutoff because of these batches these days. So you can only do 3 snapshots at a time of the same URL. They have to like limit it. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, Brittany, this is only useful if those servers and those websites you're interested in still exist later on. Let's say in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, because oftentimes the people who post stuff on these websites, they either stop paying for the service of hosting on those sites, or the sites evaporate somehow. So those URLs become essentially useless later on. What's the deal with that?
Well, this is a snapshot, so you can go after, say, the server, or the website is gone. You go on the Internet Archive, and as long as it's snapshotted, then you could pretty much navigate the site. And who cares if the original website has their server or not? The Internet Archive has their own servers, and they keep needing to buy more because they have so much data. And you can go on the Internet Archive and navigate through a snapshot of the website.
So basically, you're then taking a visual snapshot of all of the imagery, the text, all that other kind of stuff for a given site. Then just a single page at a time, right?
Yeah, it's a copy of a website, and it has the links too. It's kind of like downloading a PDF of a web page.
Yeah, it does I mean, this has been going on for years with the Internet Archive. It's that they would like do a web suck or whatever they call it. An app would pull down
A web crawler, yeah, scraper.
Yeah, suck. I think I heard that term before, but it will pull down the entire contents. I mean, in the last 10 years, I've used a few times where I've like gone to a site and it's been dead, and I went to the archive and found it for, an archival anachronistic things that may have not tested, that have been abandoned. But I never use it very much, but some people obviously,
It sounds like you're trying to figure out why someone would use it, right?
well, I mean, just me in particular, I haven't really needed to access lots of old data, but there may be people that do.
Me, I really need to. The reason why I started is because I would take college classes, and then I paid for them and my information was on there because I had to upload it. And I barely had any time to get all the information back, the graded papers and everything. But the teacher would shut down the website kind of before the class is even over, and I would scramble and try to grab everything, and I couldn't. So I'm like, what do I do? Because most of my information was gone. Luckily, I went to the Internet Archive and it was there, but I still lost a lot of info. So, yeah.
That plus there are people, historians, who are trying to preserve our legacy, because unlike the ancient cultures, we're not carving stuff in stone. We're doing a lot of stuff on the web that documents our history, our culture, countries and societies, and all the things that make us who we are.
Actually, that's why I do this too, because there's a lot of information lost, even though there's so much big data being generated. He said most of the information has been generated in the last 2 years. I don't think it's enough. Like, there's still information getting lost each day, and it's so much information that we will need preserved. So I feel that need to preserve it.
All right. Any more questions or comments? All right, Jim, you're up. And then we'll go to Tim. Thank you, Jim. That was very good. Very informative.
Thank you.
Definitely informative.
Thomas, you gonna do something?
Jim.
You go next.
Jim first. Jim first.
Jim, and then Tim, and then Thomas, right? Does that work for you guys?
I don't care. He can. Thomas can go first if he wants.
But Jim's going before me.
All right, go ahead, Jim. You got the floor.
All right, yeah. I have some pre-recorded videos that it won't take long. Yeah, the picture. So the recently I've been working on the Big Orange project and trying to get to build a charging station for it, or the beginnings of it. We discussed this a few meetings ago. So luckily, the SlamTech technology that I'm based on, they have in the firmware 2 ways of approaching a charging dock, or two technologies. One is via laser through the LiDAR device, which is already on board, and the other is through infrared beacons. And so I decided, after comparing the two and the amount of work, I'll just try this laser one first, at least. And you just have to build, or 3D print in this case, what they call a charging pile. And the design for the front and the side was diagrams were available with measurements, and so I put that together and 3D printed this thing. And it's got these 2 little cavities, and that go into the block of plastic, and that's how the LiDAR detects. You have to have them elevated to the right level of the LiDAR, and so that's how this basic this is essentially the tower that will bring the robot in, and then you have to design the charging dock, of course, as well. And then when it reaches its charging, when it connects to the charger, then you raise a signal a pin high, and it goes through the software that I can control and tells the robot to stop, or and so then it will know it's being charged. So
I didn't get that from your post the other day. So that's essentially a passive target that the LiDAR responds to.
Yeah. Now you tell the robot to go home, and it will go back to you set the home somewhere near the charging pile, and then it will start detecting it. It'll be looking for it. It rotates This happened since day one of when all of us who bought the SlamTech SDP Mini would tell it to go home. It would go back to the starting point that you turned it on at, and it would start rotating around. And I think Alex mentioned, it's looking for its charging station. And that's what, in fact, I finally am taking advantage of that firmware that's already there. But it's going to be a fair amount of work to get the full thing working and get leads and on my robot that will connect. And so I'm taking advice on that and have to figure that out. But at least this part is there, or at least, and I'll show you the video. I posted one on the internet.
Orange, go home.
Here, let me, can you see this video? I'll turn up.
Orange, go home.
So I tell it to go home.
I'm going home.
I don't know if the volume is very good. So home is you can set where the home is and as a particular point in the map. And then the robot will go to the home point and then start looking for the pile. And you can set ideally, I think you can set the home location a meter or so in front of the pile, ideally, so that then the robot can find it, not this close. Right now I have it a little too close. And the robot then has to turn around and then find it and back up. I'm having it. This is instructing it to back into the charging station. You can go forward in or backward in. That's a setting in the configuration. And so this is. Of course I did the front way to start with, and then I decided I think the backing up is the best if I can do that, and maybe better for my robot because then the bumpers won't get in the way. Now I had to manually stop it here because.
Oh, you did good.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and here it's not really lined up properly. It's supposed to be in the middle between those two, and I have to debug that. And I've asked SlamTech they gave me some pointers, but we'll see. Any questions on that? I have another video of totally different thing.
Yeah, Jim, briefly, this whole process of going back to charge up when the batteries go low, there's what I see a few stages here. There's the navigation from where you're at back to the charger. There's the alignment of how you're going to connect whatever charging mechanism you're going to use, the pins or, some kind of mechanism to transfer energy. And then there's the alignment and also the docking aspect of keeping the thing connected while it's charging until such time that it's either full or there's an emergency and it has to go off and shoot somebody or something. So out of those different processes, which of those to you are the most challenging to have to solve, if I might ask?
Yeah, well, a lot of it sounds challenging, honestly. I mean, part of what
Everyone has their own characteristics of challenge for sure, but
yeah. Well, for me, I think initially the hard part is how am I going to provide a connection on the robot with one of those spring activated connectors, and then get it to actually, and then how am I going to have the charging station have the receptacle for that, or the where the leads will actually contact each other. That seems to be that's the first difficulty. That's the most difficult to me, because the SlamTech technology that I'm inheriting here, they have put a lot of effort already into the lining up and the and that sort of thing. And so that part is at least mostly solved, and more of a configuration issue, whereas the actual connectivity of the hardware is totally unsolved for this model. This is a custom robot, really.
Well, again, as I had mentioned to you, I think several meetings ago, that the RB5X from back in the 80s used they were about half-inch diameter brass pins that were spring-loaded on the robot, and the charger had horizontal strips that were actually they were arced in the shape of the cylindrical robot. So the robot didn't have to be perfectly lined up. It could actually make contact over about an 8 to 10 inch length of that brass strip for each contact. They were vertically mounted. So you had one spring-loaded connector, if you will, brass connector, half-inch diameter, that was rounded essentially at the end, and it would then make contact with the brass strip. And it didn't have to be perfect. It just simply had to be make contact anywhere along that 10-inch arch on the charger itself, and the charger was on the floor. So the charger was pretty stationary. You could actually affix it to something with brackets if you needed to make it really stable. But if you put it against a cabinet or something, it was generally stable enough to push against it and keep those pins, since they were spring-loaded, to actually make good contact. And it worked very, very effectively on that particular robot. And that idea might be useful for what you want to do. It's a matter of deciding, what vertical height you might want to mount your connectors that would actually connect to the charger itself. So I just offer that as a possible solution to the actual connection for doing the charging itself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you sent me a picture, or we showed a picture of it, and that's sort of been the image in my head now of what I kind of I'm going to attempt something that's a little bit more forgiving.
And the reason for the spring loading, of course, on the charging pins on the robot itself was to ensure that that there was a certain amount of slop factor, if you will, for the actual position of the robot adjacent to the charger to actually be able to snuggle up to it, if you will, and maintain solid contact between the charging pins and the strips from the charger itself. And that, as I say, that worked very, very well.
Yes. Also, when I was younger, I worked with the same thing. I actually had it in one of my classes in college.
Yeah, that definitely is the charger. And then there's, again, on the robot itself, there's a couple of those spring-loaded pins. That robot generally has the pins in the front right there. Yeah, on the bottom. There's those two vertical pins where you have the cursor. Yeah, and I actually remounted those on the back of the robot, because in the center there you can see there's that little cutout circle above the logo. That's the sonar. So I wanted the robot to monitor the environment while it was charging up, so it would back into the charger then by putting those pins on the back side, and worked very effectively. So that's just a thought that I offer that might solve the problem of the actual the electrical connection between your charger and the robot itself.
You're muted, Jim.
Your mic is muted.
Yeah, Jim, we're not hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it does. I was saying I get. Thank you for bringing this back up and reminding me. And I've bookmarked this page for sure because yeah, this is definitely something that will help me. And and it proves that these type of problems have been solved in the past. And my robot is not that I mean, it's also in a way.
It's
It
a
is
lot like the RB5X actually in terms of its structural shape. It's a
yeah.
cylindrical cylinder on wheels essentially.
It's a cylinder on wheels, and yet I would back in because the bumpers are in the front. So I would probably want to back in, and maybe I could even have the connection just like this one. Yeah, very similar. I may go for this.
Yeah, by the way, those bumpers actually go all the way around the robot. There's 8 of them, and they act as switches. You can play games. They're numbered from 1 through 8 and all
Oh,
this other kind of stuff. This was a pretty sophisticated robot at its time. It came out in 1982 or 83 and was used for educational purposes. The robot you're seeing there is the one without the arm. There is an arm module that, there's the one with the arm. It makes it a little bit taller and stuff like that.
wow.
So I have this one in storage actually, and it was a nice experimental machine to mess around with, and to this day has speech capabilities of speech synthesis, not recognition, and LEDs and sonar. It's got an IR LED underneath in order to do line following. Various kinds of things. It was kind of ahead of its time at the time, really.
Oh yeah.
I never paid the 3,300. I actually was a consultant to the company for a while, and they gave me one. So, ultimately,
Great. All right. Well, thank you.
Hey, Buzz, what was the processor in that thing?
it was National Semiconductor 7094 or something of that sort, an NCS 090 or 7094. I don't remember. It had actually Tiny Basic as part of the instruction set in the processor itself.
And as I recall, that made it easy to program because it was running a version of Tiny Basic.
It did, and this RCL, the robot control language, the RCL that you see there, was actually an application built on top of Savvy, which Savvy was an artificial intelligence database language. It would learn your habits of usage and remember that, and it had an APRP, an adaptive pattern recognition module, or actually programming in the system, and it allowed you to program all kinds of things, and this various applications, and RCL was one of the applications that had English commands, and you could add to it because all of this was built on Forth, Forth, Forth. And so Forth is an extensible lexicon type language, and it's one of my favorites. I do a lot of stuff in Forth when I'm really serious about machine control and stuff and robotics. But Forth allows you to do many things, and the RCL module that rode on top of the Savvy language then was specifically set up for the RB5X robot. And you could tell it program in various commands, and those commands ultimately would be translated into Tiny Basic language, which then controlled the microprocessor on board the robot itself. A pretty nifty system at the time. And then there were some EEPROMs there. You see these different, the ROM here. These were little 2 to 4 kilobyte UV erasable EEPROMs that had programs already built in. And one of my favorite little games that I will resurrect one of these days on the robot is a little game called Hop to It. And Hop to It was the kind of thing where you would press one of the bumpers to start the program, and it would do a few gyrations, making sounds, rotating, and then you had a bunch of kids around the thing, and you could tell it how many players there would be by pressing one of the bumpers to indicate the number of players. And then the robot would speak and say, 4 foot 10 inches, hop to it. And the child would then walk up to that distance from the robot. The sonar detector would then detect the actual distance, make that measurement, and then give feedback. And the kid or the player that did this a number of times, best of all out of all of the other players, would be the winner of that game called Hop to It. It was kind of a clever little application for the thing. I loved it. It was neat to see people work with that.
That's really cool. I have one more video to show before we run out of time here, but thanks a lot, Buzz. I'm going to follow up with that.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't want to take that much time, but I thought it might be something of interest to the group in terms of some idea inspiration.
I mean, we get very inspired from some. I mean, I'm still catching up with 1982 apparently, because the robotics has been a lot of these things have been developed many years ago in one form or another. It's just now we have these integrated chips with a lot of stuff built in that that we're standing on top of giants like this. Well, for instance, I'll show you here the beginning. So I should have taken another picture, but I bought the Coral Edge TPU that has been talked about and before. It's an AI mini board. It goes into it's an M2 slot of a PCI kind of type of bus, and it goes right into the Latte Panda board. It's a tiny little board, the size of a stamp, a little bigger than 2 stamps, and it can accelerate AI vision or models to 30 times a second. It can identify. So I'm going to show you here. All right. Well, first I'm going to show you. I added a basic picture taking. So I have added a webcam to the robot, and I say, please take a picture, and it takes a picture and shows it to you. This is sort of more of a usability. You could do this on your PC pretty easily.
Orange, what do you see?
Now I've asked it, what do you see? If you notice that, and that invokes the AI system. I'll zoom in here and show you. I print out some of the data. See, it says 83% person for the first, and then 26% some other stuff.
Orange, what do you see?
Can you hear that? I'm hearing feedback. I'm not sure if you can hear but the robot said, I see a book and a book and a book, a book and a book. And that's what it's looking at. So this model I'm using is just one of their sample models that has like 100 objects for detection.
Orange, what do you see? I see a person.
Well, see, it's looking at my reflection, and it's still got it. And it also says there's a TV there, but I made the cutoff at 50% in the software. I don't know, maybe I'll change that for what the robot says it sees. So, that's up to me. I guess I could reduce the requirements. So then it would have said, I see a person and a TV.
Jim, what kind of voice recognition are you using on your system?
I'm using it's essentially Google Google Cloud is what it is. It's a free use of the Google Cloud speech recognition. And the synthesis, though, is on board using SAPI Windows, SAPI, an older but very still useful speech synthesis. But in fact, you can ask the robot, if you ask it a question, or if you give it a command or a question or something that it doesn't understand, it passes it on to Google Assistant. So I've in some of my previous videos, I've shown asking what the weather is, or something like that, or how old is Matt Damon, and things like that. It just sends it out to the Google Assistant. But
So the robot has the mic on it and is connected to a Wi-Fi connection then to connect up to Google for the actual recognition part, speech recognition part.
yeah, as you can see in the as you can see here in the picture, I've got a Wi-Fi, a nice big antenna there,
Yeah.
It's a Windows machine, Latte Panda, a single board, a miniature Windows, and I use Wi-Fi, and through Python as the main language, driving language. You can access Google Assistant, and actually there's many libraries, as a lot of people probably know. Python has many libraries, including speech recognition, and using different cloud resources such as Google. So you can choose where to get your speech recognition, and there may even be offline ones that are coming available. They're a little harder to get going, so I haven't. But and I wanted the assistant, at least for now. So it's on. It requires an internet connection to do the recognition, as I guess that other robot probably. Yeah, well, yeah, we were talking about speech synthesis before, but this is recognition. I don't have a way of doing it locally.
Yeah. Okay, so you're using kind of an off-the-shelf solution to that, but through Wi-Fi. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. That's it from me.
All right, well, it is now 7:30, and that's our cutoff time, I understand, or 7:33. Thank you, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
You're welcome.
Very good.
You don't mind leaving this up for a few minutes so I could copy down the chat?
Well, actually, I was going to, Phil, do you have that video ready?
Which video?
Brent, if you go to the chat, you can do the ellipsis at the bottom right corner and say save chat. So you can grab it all at one shot. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Go ahead. But it's the Greenies one. Do you have that, or?
No, I could not find it.
All right. Hold on, people. I'm going to, before we go, I want to leave you with one last shot at Christmas. You probably saw it already, but just in case, I want to make sure I got it here. So give me a split second to get into where I need to go. And pardon me for what I need to do. It's going to be a little bit awkward here. So
while you do that, hey, Jim, when are you going to demo that sweet Commodore on your desk?
Oh, yeah. I have some videos online of that. I can demo it live too at some point. I haven't booted up in a while. So are you a Commodore fan too?
Oh, that's what I grew up with.
Dogstone.
Same here.
What's that?
Same here.
Oh, yeah. That was the first. It's amazing. We all have this in common. It was the first computer like with a monitor,
Also,
with a tube that I touched.
Also had an Atari ST.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, later on in like high school, I used one of those. I was after the Apple II. I was mainly an Apple II Plus guy. I mean, that was where that was after the PET though. I never owned a PET till this one.
Apple I saw I assembled over in Hong Kong.
All right, now is everybody ready before I just want to leave this with you guys, just in case you saw this, that's fine. If not, well, just mark it down. So here we go. I'll get it going for you. So here we go.
Dogs don't know what's good for them, like not being able to leave a good stick alone. Greenie's Dental Treats, something better for your dog to chew on.
That's good.
So I figured a little humor boost there. So give everybody a little last shot at Christmas. So anyhow, with that, if you guys wanted to continue, well, I have to ask with Alan, the cutoff time now is done, or we're pushing, or what's the word?
Perfect time.
All right. Okay, well, we will call it there. For everybody I didn't get a chance to sort of at least instant message and talk to, at least through private chat or something, I do apologize, didn't get a chance to bug you. Mr. Vaughn, like your name, pretty cool. And Teague, or Ty, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So I get to use my gong. Here it is.
There we go. Now we're done.
See all of you guys.
Gotta digitize those, man.
All right. Take care, everyone.
See you
Bye,
later.
everyone. Good night.
Yep.
Good night. Bye.
See you guys later.
Have a good weekend.